Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how I made these two pixel art portraits using Photoshop. These portraits are of two users of a Discord forum that I'm usually at, and they sort of been battling each other with jokes in the past few weeks, so I decided to do something along with those lines. So because I can draw, I make the lines for the shape of the head fairly quickly, and then I take that silhouette and create a lasso selection around it. Now I'm going to make a layer and have that flat color be the background and use that shape as the clipping mask for the line work so that the lines don't go outside of the drawing. I'm also now building a palette for the skin tones that I will also eventually extend to the hair and highlights. I'm keeping the line work as the darkest shade, and that's my light direction. This light direction is kind of easy to do in this angle because it takes into consideration the surfaces of the head that are most easy to define. So the side of the forehead, the side of the nose, the cheekbones, and the shape above the mouth. So what you can see me do is I gradually go into the shade as I sort of roll away from this side of the light source. Now, again, because I'm pretty comfortable with drawing faces, I can keep the shading kind of sketchy at this point and sort of focus more on defining the shapes of the eyes and mouths and nose and everything. I didn't go for likeness. Not only do I not have photographs of these users, but they've also been playing around with portraits that have been drawing in a cartoon style. So that's sort of what I've based myself on. And this person specifically here looks way older than they are, but it's just an issue of not really caring for likeness. I just focused more on the expression. I wanted them to look angry. So that I think that maybe that made them a little bit older than they should be. I feel that the jaw is a little short, so eventually I'll just make a lasso selection and extend the jaw down a little more. Or I think I should extend the head up a little bit as well. As for the hair reflections here, what I do is I take my variable sized pixel brush and I draw some shapes where the curls would be. This person has fairly curly hair. It's very hard to draw hair, period, not just in Pixelart. It's very hard to draw hair. So in Pixelart, it becomes even more difficult because the lack of resolution doesn't allow you to do hair strands unless you do a different style. And in this case, I don't really have a goal to do realistic, but I also don't want to go like full stylized where you actually can play around with hairstyles a lot more. This is more within the sort of SNK kind of Capcom style of character portraits. This is the second person, and in the sketches that they've been sort of playing around with in the past weeks, they're wearing a baseball cap, and it's great because in terms of design, it sets them apart really well. Also, they have glasses and have a darker skin tone, which means that there's no way these two characters are going to look the same. Also, I flipped the light source. For the reason being, I'm imagining that all characters in portraits and video games usually have the same kind of light source. But when you flip the character around, you're going to get a shift in light direction. So you don't really want to have like a really side-facing light source. You kind of want the light source to be aligned with the camera position so that if the sprite flips, you don't see the sprite change all that much. So the difficulty here is, of course, figuring out how to shade this face differently. So already the face features are different. The chin's a little bit more sort of pointy. But having the baseball cap really helps create a more distinct shape for the portrait. But as well, the glasses and just figuring out different types of highlights for the surfaces on the face, which is kind of interesting. I don't also have that much experience with painting darker skin tones, but I just make sure to leave a lot of saturation and red in there so that it still keeps that idea of having like blood vessels inside. So it kind of tints the colors with a little bit more red, even though I don't have any sort of environment to reflect off of. If I had an environment, I would probably add some reflections on the edges, like Fresnel reflections, to kind of sit this character in the environment. But since I don't have that, and I plan to do like this very generic fight versus screen, there's really nothing for me to do that. So I'll just sort of dim them down into this kind of dark background, which is very, very usual of retro fighting games, you know, like King of Fighters, Street Fighter, those kinds of 90s fighting games. Playing around here with the clothing as well, also basing myself off of the sketches they've shown. This person is also wearing like a hoodie. So again, that's a different shade. Here I'm using my variable sized pixel to actually sketch the VS of the versus icon, because they usually in video games they look like they've been done with brush strokes, which is very iconic, very interesting, has this kind of cool effect to it. And this brush was actually pretty good at replicating that. I just duplicated the layer here and made it kind of the black and white and sort of offset them a little bit. I tried a gradient, but it didn't really look all that cool. So here I'm just making a shape to frame both portraits. And the person on the left is a little bigger. I didn't really measure it really well. So I'm kind of trimming off a little bit at the bottom there for just, you know, for size continuity. I would imagine if I was to properly do this for a game, I would have to decide on a scale for every head to kind of fit within an area more than just anything else. So I just make this really bland gradient at the bottom behind everyone. There's a little bit of shirt from the left character there. So I clean that up, and this is what I ended up with. And I think it looks pretty cool. This is fairly fast to do. But again, likeness was not an issue. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and that you learned something. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.